Listen to me, y'all. Listen to me. Egghead Island might be on pace to having the best beginning section to any One Piece arc. This is madness. What Oda is doing every single week since this arc started, since the final saga started, but specifically here in Egghead Island, every chapter has been just, what is going on? What is going on? You know what I mean? And so now we're getting to the point to where within the same chapter, we have Law and Blackbeard continuing their fight. Something that none of us expected. At least I didn't expect. And yo, my apologies to Law's crew, man. You know that meme, Shaq, like, I wasn't familiar with your game. I wasn't familiar with Law's crew's game. Because out on the ocean, you know how they said Kaido rules over land, sea, and air? If it's a one-on-one, you bet on Kaido. Yo, if it's a battle on the sea, Law's crew is nasty. The polar tang out in the sea? Ooh, they're nasty. They're nasty. Hydro pumps for days. Forget it. So, my apologies to Law's crew. I was belittling them for a long time. But in the water, that's a Yonko crew. that's a Yonko crew in the water, son. Let me tell you. Before we conclude the Law versus Blackbeard section here, I just wanted to address a comment from Derek of Rivia. Shout out to Derek of Rivia, who states, I just put this in the reaction video along with some other comments. Can you explain Law's awakening / if he was using it when Blackbeard mentioned it? He was. We got to see both the Shock Wily, the Big Willy, which is something that he only utilizes within the R room, or the K room, considering. But whenever we see R room or Re room, as it said in Viz, R room / Re room or K room, it's safe to assume that Law is not only using Awakening, but if we need something else to further showcase, visually showcase Law's Awakening, then when his blade not only becomes larger, but it's surrounded by that little outline that Law refers to as anesthesia. This is what he coats his blade in and lets us know that he is entering Awakening. As stated within chapter 1030, the penetration does nothing on its own. Instead, K-Room creates shockwaves from within. And of course, that's what creates the Shock Wily attack. So we got some Blackbeard versus Law greatness. I mean, just on full display. Absolutely loved it. Straight up Ace versus Blackbeard vibes. And I just could not believe that was taking place within this chapter. And if that wasn't enough, we cut over to McDonald's headquarters and we see that Akainu's getting antsy now. He's like, yo, things are popping off and I can't do anything about it. Being a fleet admiral really has like its drawbacks to where I just can't go out and do whatever it is I want to do. And we know that Akainu's in his seat, man. He's like, oh, he's breaking more cigars. Like, he has that one shot in every single movie where he just demolishes a cigar out of anger. That's him right now. He's probably breaking chairs. He's breaking the whole factory. He's just going over there, just melting the whole thing with a volcanic fist. We can all imagine that being the case. But if that wasn't enough, then we cut back over and we get some more lore, which was something I was really excited about. But the Sorbet Kingdom, the tyrant Bartholomew Kuma, and different perspectives on it. What history states. This is something that's very common within the series, right? Very common within the arc we just got out of in Wano, where history says one thing, but the reality was another. So whenever we get this flashback with Kuma and with Bonnie, I cannot wait to see the differences between what history stated, what the propaganda machine stated, and of course what the actual reality was, because somewhere in the middle is going to be the truth. And so that flashback, what this chapter did is get me even more excited for that incoming Kuma and Bonnie flashback that we know is inevitable at this point. Then we go to the sky. Y'all know me and Skypiea, son. Anytime I go up to the sky, I'm like, brother, it's going to be a goated chapter. A goated chapter. And that's me after seeing the cover page, which any cover page with pudding, you already know what that means. It's going to be a GOAT chapter. But then, within the cover page, Oda reveals one of the oldest theories in my time here in the community, which is Aokiji being a member of the Blackbeard Pirates. The theory has been around for so long that to me it was just canon. You know what I mean? So when I saw it in the cover page, I was like, yeah, it's Aokiji. He's part of the Blackbeard Pirates. I'm sure someone who's not in our community would be like, what? What? You know what I mean? Because it's just the thing, right? Sometimes you believe in a theory so much that it's just right. And that was one of those instances where when I saw that, I was like, there we go. Finally, the reveal. And another one of those happened at the end of this chapter when just when things couldn't get any more insane. Just when we get to the research stratum all the way up there in the sky, now we have the stuff happening up there in the laboratory and the stuff happening all the way in the bottom and on the factory land, right? Where it's Epcot and then it's Sky Island, you know what I mean? Tomorrowland, which is where Luffy and the squad are, and then up there in Sky Island, we have Nami and the rest, right? So then we finish off the chapter. I just want to read this over in the Viz translation because I still can't believe that this section exists, and my excitement for this arc, just based on this one strip of panels. Egghead Island, I was already going into every single chapter with so much just, I can't wait to see what happens here for a multitude of reasons, right? It's the mysteries, it's finding out more about Dr. Vegapunk, it's the seeing what else Oda can create with the whole futuristic setting and all of that stuff, right? It's so much fun. But then on top of all the insanity, Robert D, Vegapunk, Kuma, Bonnie, all of this Law and Blackbeard. Then we get this strip of panels. Being a genius means being able to see even what your own future contains. This is Vegapunk speaking. And he's going down a corridor. You already know if it's a futuristic place, you play Legend of the Galactic Heroes theme in the background. Specifically Valkyrie Ha. I think that's what it's called. Dun, 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 dun. And if you ever watched Galactic Heroes, you know that it's either Reinhardt and Kirkiais over here, like Young, Wenli, and Julian on the other side. And there are some conversations taking place that hit the soul. Shout out to, Yang Wenli, that's one of my all-time goats. Regardless, we have Vegapunk having a Yang Wenli situation here where I'm going down a corridor, and then someone is on the other side of Denden Mushi and says, what do you mean, Vegapunk? Vegapunk responds, now this is Vegapunk number 1. We have been speculating ever since the 6 Paths of Pain, actually before that. Before the 6 Paths of Vegapunk were brought into the picture, and I believe that was chapter 1062, we were already speculating that there was somebody who was controlling multiple Vegapunks. Before, I thought it was 12 because of the Gundam, but now we see that it's actually just 6 after 1062. And so, of course, 6 Paths of Vegapunk, we all assumed, okay, maybe one of them is the actual main body, and we came to the conclusion in this stream that it was going to be Vegapunk number 1, and I'm 100% a part of that, and especially now after seeing this. So, we see the 1 over the helmet. So I'm going to assume when this helmet gets revealed, this is probably Vegapunk's actual body, and I do believe that Vegapunk's actual body is going to end up being heavily modified. We're going to see like a cyborg version of Vegapunk because I believe Vegapunk is the type of person who would work on themselves if we're working on somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, probably wouldn't do to others what Vegapunk wouldn't do to himself. At least that's the way I see it. So, then Vegapunk states this. Vegapunk number 1 states this. I suspect that my death is imminent. That perhaps we might leave this arc and Vegapunk is not going to leave this arc. And shout out to Kev DOG once again for his theory. He also theorized in a very magnificent video on who he believes Dr. Vegapunk is based off of. And a lot of great references to support that and evidence and all that stuff. But main takeaway from that video was, for me, the possibility of Vegapunk dying within this arc and the consequences that would have, right? I've been thinking about that ever since I watched this video. And so when I saw this panel, I suspect my death is imminent. It's like, yo, Vegapunk, and like Vegapunk says, being a genius means even being able to see what your own future contains. That means if I already know that my death is imminent, which is why Vegapunk probably created these 6 different paths of Vegapunk in order to do as much as possible before he dies. It just makes a lot of sense, right? It's like, how old is Vegapunk? And why do they believe? Do they have a sickness? Of course, like I said, being a genius means that you know when your time is running out. So then we go back to the Denden Mushi. It says, stop telling bad jokes, they're not funny. Then the person here speaking is once again Vegapunk, we go into one of those classic half black, half gray panels with the Doom. This is synonymous with Gear 4, the Gear 5 panel. You know, legendary panels take place when it's just the speech bubble, the Doom, and the half black, half gray in the background, right? This is always going to be legendary. So on that same level, we have the reveal that we have all been waiting for so long. And like I said, in the same way with the Aokiji theory, this is a theory as old as I've been in the community for the past 10 plus years. This has been a common, especially after Kuma was revealed to have actually been protecting the Straw Hats back in Return to Sabaody. This is something that's been cooking from all the way back then. So here we have, so I wanted you to hear me out, Dragon. Vegapunk #1 is having a conversation with Monkey D. Dragon. And just that in and of itself, because then we go into the other stuff in this chapter with Kuma, the connection to the Revolutionary Army, being sentenced for life in prison, potentially wanting to have his memories wiped, all that stuff. And then we have the connection now to Dragon. If this arc, if Egghead Island is about to be the arc where we find out potential origins of the Revolutionary Army, which in turn, like Oda said in an interview a long time ago, would also showcase Luffy's origin, like Luffy's birth, then ladies and gentlemen, Egghead Island has top 5 potential. I don't care how long it is. With all the stuff that's cooking right now, and it's all just happening so naturally, like it's insane. So let's go into the comments, and then I'll give my thoughts as we go through these. I have a few here. I don't think we'll be able to get through all of them with the time that I'm in, but we'll try to get through a few of them. So the first one's going to come in from Infants Aurelius. I wanted to start with this one because this one has to do with Dragon. It states, convo between Dr. Vega and Dragon, what are the connections? And so, here's my thing. I honestly am starting to be of the belief that Vegapunk... There's two things here with Dr. Vegapunk. I honestly do believe that Vegapunk is unaffiliated, quote-unquote, right? In terms of, this is an individual who is doing their best to advance civilization for their out of their own curiosity and also maybe out of a purpose, right, that we have yet to understand. But because of that, I do think Vegapunk, very similar to a character in Trails, and to like a Sakata Gintoki, for example, is going to end up being a character where they are willing to step into the shoes of Law, the side of Middle Gray, or Chaos, which is delve into some acts that are not seen as morally good for the betterment of mankind, or for the just their research. And so with that being said, I think that Vegapunk is willing to be affiliated with anyone as long as these research is able to be conducted on certain things and or to be able to grow as whatever it is, right? So with that being said, I think Vegapunk is willing to work with a pirate, with the Marines, obviously, the WG, and of course that means the Revolutionary Army as well. I do think Vegapunk has affiliations with every single, the underground, all of it. Vegapunk, I believe, has affiliations with all of them. However, with the Revolutionary Army in particular, I do believe it goes further than just a simple quote-unquote affiliation. And the reason why I say that is I do believe that Vegapunk felt bad and or may have been the cause for what happened with Kuma in the Sorbet Kingdom. And at taking responsibility for that, did what Vegapunk did to Kuma, turning him into a cyborg and cloning him and stuff of that nature. Now, we know in this chapter about the special race thing. We'll talk about that, which is a very interesting thing of like, well, what in the world really is Bartholomew Kuma. But just as far as those connections go with Vegapunk and Dragon, so Dragon at Roger's execution did not have the tattoo, and I've always been of the idea that Dragon's tattoo represents something from the Void Century, that when we go into the Void Century flashback, we're going to see Dragon's tattoo and we're going to realize its significance. Because at this point, it's safe to assume, that individuals like Dragon, individuals like Vegapunk, these characters know what happened within the Void Century, which is why when Luffy reveals himself in Gear 5, which I do think is going to happen in this arc, that is whenever we're gonna get like the origin of fruits and stuff of that nature, right? Because Vegapunk has that knowledge. We don't know how old Vegapunk is, but we know Vegapunk has that knowledge. So in Dragon's case, I believe that Dragon met Vegapunk between, or maybe before, but I believe he established a connection with Vegapunk around the same time as he established a connection with Kuma. So if that's the case and all of that's connected, and he created the Revolutionary Army, if the Revolutionary Army's origins, and the reason why Dragon decided to create this army to go against the Celestial Dragons had something to do with what was taking place with Kuma. If Kuma was, as we believe, wronged, and the propaganda machine got the best of him, where his entire country turned on him, very similar to what happened with Riku in Dressrosa, where we knew Doflamingo was behind it, but unable to control himself, and there was really no one to be like, oh yeah, Riku. They clearly saw what he did, right? And maybe something happened with Kuma as well. But in Kuma's case, I do believe that he was a tyrant. I don't believe he was being controlled. I believe that's a shoot. Like, I believe, like I said, it's going to be somewhere in the middle, where Kuma was a tyrant, but maybe not everything that he did was exactly what they say that he did. Because even in this chapter, it was like, how many crimes did Kuma commit that he was going to get like a lifetime sentence, even on top of being associated with the Revolutionary Army. So all of these things was to take Kuma out of there. But if that has to do with the origins of the Revolutionary Army, like whether that was the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back, right? Or if that was one of the things that led Dragon to be like, nah, I have to put a stop to this, because we know that Kuma, for a very, very long time, has been a member of the Revolutionary Army. And so if this is all connected, then I am of the belief that Dragon and Vegapunk's, like, their establishment, their connection, their relationship is going to lead to a reveal that Vegapunk has known about Luffy since birth. Not necessarily that Luffy was going to be special, or that Luffy was going to be this or that, but at the very least, the idea, the concept of Dragon having a son is something that Vegapunk has known for a very long time. I do believe that to be the case, especially if, like I said, we find out in this arc, because it just inevitably, once we find out about the origins of the Revolutionary Army, we got to find out about the circumstances surrounding Luffy's birth, as well as who Luffy's mom is. We know that Vegapunk mother theories have been around for a very, very long time, but I'm not ruling on any possibilities anymore. You know what I mean? But at this point, it's safe to assume that Vegapunk is not the mother, right? You know, that's always been a fun theory, but still, the fact remains that Vegapunk had something to do there. So there is a connection that we do not understand yet in regards to Dragon, Kuma, what happened there in the Sorbet Kingdom that led Dragon to either make the decision to don the tattoo, create the Revolutionary Army, and thus have all the individuals that we know are in there, and have this affiliation with Vegapunk, who I'm going to assume has been there since the very beginning. Those are my thoughts on the Dragon, Vegapunk, and Kuma connection, because I do believe all of those events are connected in some way, shape, or form, which is why Vegapunk can talk to Dragon in such a casual manner. And so that is what I believe the connections are, and that it's trying to streamline as simple as possible, because we know Oda's going to go extremely in depth. Like I said, when we get the Sorbet Kingdom flashback, I would not be surprised if the Sorbet Kingdom flashback, it connects to the refs, and this is what scares me. If for some reason or another, the Law and Blackbeard plotline, let's go ahead and cut over to Pluto's comment here. Where is Pluto's comment? I want to touch upon that one immediately. Here it is. So shout out to my boy Pluto. Plutonian Moon comes in and says, I would love to hear a topic on where you think the Blackbeard subplot is going and how it will eventually converge with the main plot. So here we go. Not only do I believe the Blackbeard plotline is going to converge with maybe not the Egghead Island plotline, but certainly in the transition from Egghead to whatever the next arc is. The Revolutionary Army plotline, though, we could have a potential scenario here where we already have the establishment of those two main plots happening at once, right? The Sabo Lucia stuff, Dragon hearing about that, having Kuma there with him. Now they're going to have to do something about this. We know that is currently cooking in the background. But now we have the next thread to that, which is this connection to Dragon, or this connection to Vegapunk. So I would not be surprised if even on top of CP0 coming here, and even on top of Law and Blackbeard taking place, and I know the reason why Oda has Law and Blackbeard taking place is because that is going to have a lot of importance into what takes place in the transition to the next arc. I don't believe we're going to see the immediate consequences to it in this arc. I feel like that would be too much. But in the transition to the next arc, and potentially the next arc itself, we're going to see the consequences and how that's going to converge into the main plot. I 100% believe that's going to be the case. The Revolutionary Army plotline, though, that one fascinates me. I don't think Dragon himself shows up at Egghead. I don't believe that to be the case. I do believe Dragon is going to be preoccupied with what is happening with Sabo, as well as potentially confronting the Celestial Dragons himself. I mean, like, yo, it's time. Let's go up and like swim, or maybe Instant Messenger Sama, whatever it is, right? That is what Dragon's gonna be doing. But the Revolutionary Army plotline in regards to a potential connection, let's just say we cut over. At this point, we can cut over anything. So we can cut over to the Revolutionary Army. We have Dragon looking at Kuma, and Dragon and Kuma have this conversation about the past. And that is how we find out, through Dragon's perspective, the Vegapunk, Bonnie, and Kuma backstory, which also has the connection to Dragon's backstory. So we're going to cut off 4 birds with 1 stone. Vegapunk, Bonnie, Kuma, and Dragon backstory. Who doesn't want to see that? Who doesn't want to see that? That's where I believe the extent of the Revolutionary Army subplot is going to come into this Egghead Island arc. Because the Kuma, Vegapunk, Bonnie stuff is going to happen. That is, especially after this chapter. That flashback is going to happen. We're going to see it in some way, shape, or form. The Dragon one, though, if what this is leading to, this final panel, is what I think it's leading to, it might be time. It might be Revolutionary Army Origins time, because, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get to the point. We already saw Akainu getting antsy. We're about to get to the point where the Revolutionary Army is going to be in the forefront. They already are. Sabo's at the forefront of this entire conversation. We know what's about to take place. War is about to break out between the Revs and the Celestial Dragons. And before they get involved into the story, I would love to understand why it is they're doing what they're doing. And what better way, oh my goodness, the origin of the Revs and of Devil Fruits in what arc? Egghead Island's about to truly be the one, man. It's about to be the one, dude. So, but in regards to the Blackbeard question, Pluto, I believe that it is going to converge in the transition to the next arc, or the next arc itself, by us finding out that putting, or whether it be through the newspaper or through somebody themselves popping up at the end of this arc, letting us know that Law has been defeated, because I do believe Law is going to try his absolute hardest, but Law is going to get defeated. Law is defeated, whatever that means. Whether Law is captured, Law is killed, as fruit has been extracted, whatever that means, Law is going to, we're going to get that in the news. Trafalgar Law, Blackbeard confrontation, and either ends in Law escaping or him being defeated, and whatever comes with that. We're going to receive that news at the same time that we receive the news that Kobe is 100% captured, because remember, Robin kept that news from Luffy. So this might be the time where we find out that not only Kobe's been captured, but Pudding has been captured as well. And this could be the perfect opportunity to where, in the transition to the next arc, we cut over to the island full of lead, or Winter Island, whatever we're going to do now, and we're going to see Pudding, potentially Law if he's captured, or if Law escapes, then it's going to be Pudding, Kobe, and Aokiji. And I think Helmeppo too. I think Helmeppo is also going to get captured, just based on the fact that he wants to take a Seraphim. And the Seraphim, so Helmeppo potentially taking a Seraphim, going over there, getting bodied, and then he's with them too. So it could be Helmeppo, Kobe, and Pudding with Aokiji. This is going to be one of the most important conversations in the entire series, because this is the thing. If Law is there, then Randy Troy, Mugiwara Map B, Sword Theory is going to be going crazy. They were the ones in the Rocky Port incident, and simultaneously also being the ones here, and being captured directly under Aokiji, who everybody believes, just like the Vegapunk and Dragon connection, just like Aokiji being a Blackbeard pirate. At this point, after the introduction of Sword, everybody's like, Aokiji's in it. Aokiji's in it. So if Aokiji is a member of SWORD, then we're about to see one of the craziest moments in the series happening in the transition of this next arc. With Aokiji and Kobe, potentially Helmeppo, if Law's there too, Pudding. It's like, yo, stuff's about to be cooking. Stuff is about to be cooking. And that is where I believe it is going to converge, Pluto, which is why we need the Law and Blackbeard stuff to happen now. Even if we do not cut back to it for the rest of the arc, just having that momentum in the transition arc, we cut back to that conversation. That's all we need, baby. That's all we need, because it is going to propel us into what's going to take place next. Whether Aokiji himself is the one freeing them, or whether it's Kobe pulling exactly what he did against Akainu and giving him a speech, giving him this, because we know Aokiji's got to be cooking something. But Kobe doesn't know that. At least we believe Kobe doesn't know that. If they're members of SWORD and this is all the massive plan, then my goodness, some 4D chess is being played here, maybe even 5D chess. But if Kobe doesn't know, we could have it a parallel to the speech that he gave to Akainu. So giving that speech over to Aokiji, and he actually changes Aokiji's heart back to the correct quote-unquote side of justice. A lot of interesting scenarios, but I do believe that is where we're going to be taking this subplot. It's going to be so good. I just can't believe it's happening, man. I really can't believe it's happening. And of course, Blackbeard getting some momentum, some more W's, going into the fact that he's about to be the main antagonist of this final part of the saga. Of course, alongside Instant Messenger Sama. Like, we need to continue to see Blackbeard hype and Instant Messenger Sama hype, because these are going to be in Akainu, obviously. Those three, we need to continue to see more and more of them. Or if we don't see more and more of them, we need to see, what they're doing. The things that are directly opposing us. Now it's having an effect on us, on people close to us, right? And that it can no longer be ignored. So, I appreciate y'all for the comments, man. Alrighty, let me go ahead and get to my members. Real quick, I apologize for not starting with the members. We were cooking. We were cooking, man. So, first we got Recon right here. Shout out to Recon. He says, yo, I got nothing crazy this week. Recon with nothing crazy? Yo, Recon, man, come on, man. You gotta come at me with the crazy stuff, dog. No, I'm just playing. I just wanted to appreciate the world building in this chapter. I love the Skypia callbacks. Me too. And I love how the Skypia crew, specifically were the ones like, oh, this is just how it was back then. And Frankie was like, what are y'all talking about? No, like, it's also interesting how Zoro and Brooke stayed back when Zoro will meet another Vegapunk, considering he did have a request. You're right, and that Zoro plotline not being immediately resolved lets me know that something like that is going to happen, right? Like, we're about to have a situation where potentially, like you said, Zoro and Brooke, very similar to the Frankie family back in Water 7, they're going to start their own, maybe not extreme, like, major subplot, but another thread that connects to the subplot currently happening up there, where there is going to be a payoff to that setup that we just got with Zoro having a request towards to Vegapunk. So if another Vegapunk were to show up over there to where they are, like I said, that'll end up connecting in some way, shape, or form to what's happening up there in the lab. But it is interesting that specifically Zoro and Brooke stayed behind. Like, I wonder what Oda's cooking there. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I really do hope, considering how many Vegapunks there is going to be an opportunity for us to meet each and every single one of them. So, or could you imagine this? Could you imagine if the Navy actually gets involved and they find their way up there to the sky? Because at this point, it's safe to assume they would run into Luffy and the rest because they're the ones on the bottom. But if they were to find a way to get up there through some means, the first people that they would run into is Zoro and Brooke. Could you imagine? Whether it be Helmeppo or Prince, or Tashigi, Smoker, Robert D. Lucci, who's also coming in, right? That the first one that they run into is Zoro. We could have some stuff cooking there, dog. I'm down for that. I appreciate you, Recon, man. Thank you so much. And then the next one is coming in from my boy Subra. Shout out to Subra. Comes in as a theory on Kuma's race. Here we go, dude. I have no answers for this. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, there's the third race in Whole Cake Island that we still don't know anything of. There's the Lunarians, and there's all these tribes that we don't know. I have no idea. So I'm interested in seeing y'all's thoughts on this. One of the most possible tribes might be the Three-Eyed Tribe. That is interesting. we never saw the forehead of Kuma because it was always covered with his hat. That's facts that you're spitting. That would also be a connection to, or not a connection directly, but someone else besides Pudding that has the 3 eyes. But wouldn't we have seen that? And hold on, what about the panel when Kuma was turned around? In hold on, let me go. What was that? Last week's chapter? Oh, let me before I get to your comment, Super. Let me look at this. It was last week. So I don't see an eye right here on the "Please Don't Hurt My Daddy" panel with Kuma, but we're not directly seeing it, right? So if he truly is a member of the 3-eyed family, we don't see it right here. We don't directly see it. So hey, you might be cooking. So let's go back to your comment. Also, the first time we see Kuma without a hat was in Bonnie's flashback in the last chapter. However, there we also see Kuma from the side view, which I should have just kept reading your thing. I apologize. However, there's a chance it's a new race too. Missing race is a big mom, giant Lunarian. A giant Lunarian. That's interesting in Kuma's race. And no, you're right. Like, no, you're talking about not a giant Lunarian. You're talking about giants, Lunarians, and Kuma. So like the missing third, right? Which I believe that is the case. Kuma, Vegapunk, Dragon friends. From Bonnie's conversation in the recent chapters, we get to know that she came there as a child at the time she was with Kuma. There may be a possibility where Dragon was also with Kuma at the time. That might lead to a possible connection between Kuma, Vegapunk, and Dragon 100%. 100%. Were they the ASL of their time? That very well could be the case, right? Depending on how old Vegapunk is, Kuma and Dragon could have been like, Vegapunk could have been the ace, right? Like the older brother to the 2 younger brothers, which is why I really wanted to know more about the whole Sorbet Kingdom thing, what was actually cooking there with all of them. But if they didn't have their own ASL where they all grew up together, then I at the very least, I do believe that something led all 3 to converge at one point in time, which is where that flashback is going to come into play. I do believe. Like I said, either it's going to be, like you said, an ASL, and they've been known each other for a long time, or a certain event, something that happened with the tyrant Bartholomew Kuma, brought Vegapunk there and Dragon there. It didn't have to be the exact same time, but the important events took place with all 3 of them there at the same time. And that is how they all came to know each other, connect, and how that connection between the Revolutionary Army, as being the centerpiece between those 3, started, right? Was in that event in the Sorbet Kingdom. I most certainly believe that to be the case. And so, also, did Dragon call Vegapunk to find the cure for Kuma? That's interesting. We don't really know the motivation behind the conversation at first, right? At first, we don't know Vegapunk. We assume Vegapunk was the one that reached out to Dragon. What about if it was Dragon who reached out to Vegapunk? Interesting. This will also explain why Vegapunk helped Kuma to save the Thousand Sunny. True that. 2 points. 1, Zoro and Brooke together. Is this a skeleton from Wano finally getting some answers? Hopefully, right? Actually. And like they just have a conversation between the 2 of them and we see exactly what happened there with the Grim Reaper plot line. That would be awesome. Skypia's second entrance is it connected to Egghead? There is my own personal research regarding all 6 satellites and why I think Shock is the main body. I'll tag you to my thread in Twitter if you say GOAT. Yo, let me know, dude. I would love to see that. Please tag me in that. There's some interesting stuff there. Thanks, Go, for reading Peak Piece. We're truly in Peak Piece. But yo, super great comment, yo. And I'm very, very interested in regards to, send me the 6 satellites and Shock me in the main body. I would love to read that, as well as your comment on the ASL, potentially being like the Dragon, Vegapunk, Kuma. I believe that it's going to be one of those 2 things. Like they've either known each other for a really long time, or a certain event brought them together, and then they've known each other since then, where they were already adults and stuff. So, thank you so much for that, yo. Next comment comes from Eric Johnson. Now, this one connects to, before I read Eric's, this comment connects to, shout out to Presno, Presnotics here on YouTube, but Presno for sending me the night after I read the chapter. Presno sent me y'all remember the drawings that Oda drew for the Straw Hats, where it shows them all at age 40 and age 60, and it's like the good timeline, the bad timeline. And it's interesting how, as Presno pointed out, we see Luffy in this week's chapter, age 70, in the bad timeline, right? Like, and what I'm talking about is Oda's SBSs. In Oda's SBSs, he drew all the Straw Hats at age 40 and age 60, and drew a good version, like this would look like in the good timeline, and a bad version in the bad timeline. And it was like this for all the strides. This was like Luffy from the bad timeline, which is so interesting to me. I'm not saying that there's gonna be like it was most likely for comedic purposes, but this is Oda we're talking about. So just keep that in mind in regards to what is he cooking here in regards to the what I'm about to read here with Eric Johnson's comment. But thank you, Presno, for sending me that, because it's had me thinking the past couple of days in regards to what was Oda trying to tell us with this. So that connects to Eric Johnson's comment. So Eric Johnson says, do you think the years lost from Ivan's treatment and Impel Down, of course talking about the injecting the hormones and causing several taking Luffy's lifespan in order to bring him back, basically back in Impel Down, affected how old Luffy looked at 70, and I 100 million% believe that is the case. We see plenty of 70-year-olds like Garps and Goku, and really they don't nearly as weak as torn and worn out. Eric, I am so much of the belief behind this that, as a matter of fact, I believe this so strongly that I thought, and this was something that me and Laz talked about a while ago. I don't remember if it was in one of our calls that we didn't record or in one that we did record, but we talked about the potential possibility of Big Mom announcing Luffy's lifespan within Wano, or actually, I think this was in Whole Cake. In Whole Cake, in Wano, or whatever later on down the line, where we were going to get a reveal that Luffy's lifespan is very, like, it's dwindling in regards to, especially after all the gear usage and the hormone stuff with Ivankov, so many different things that were going to lead Luffy's lifespan to, it was going to lead Big Mom to say, oh, Luffy only has an X amount of years left to live or something like that. An incurable disease, right? And so that's also been something that's been around for a long time. But that's how strongly I believe in that, Eric. That the effects of not only what Ivankov did with the hormone treatment back in Impel Down, both in Impel Down and Marineford did that, but also the usage of the gears most certainly has also taken its toll as well. So I believe that is why Luffy looks like that at age 70. 100%. So thank you so much for that, Eric. I appreciate you. The next comment. So this one connects to something we were talking about earlier. James Whittick comes in and says, Law reveals he's an undercover Marine. This goes with the Law being a member of Sword theory that has been around for a while, that was brought up by Mugiwara Matt B and by Randy Troy. Teams up with Aokiji, then saves Kobe. Could most certainly end up being the case and would be insane. Like I said, with a connection to Khorasan, it would be poetic, and it would be, I would be so down for that. Blackbeard still comes out on top, but getting the poneglyph rubbings perhaps. I believe Blackbeard gets the poneglyph rubbings no matter what happens here. Whether Law escapes, whether Law is captured, whether he dies, whatever it is, I believe Blackbeard gets out of here with the poneglyph rubbings, if not anything else, which is going to be a W. It's going to be a W for him. So, James Whittick, love it. We love to see it. Thank you so much for that comment. Next one comes in from DJ. Shout out to DJ, and says, I have a theory about Kuma's special race. Maybe he was a part of the Bible people because Oda really likes religion stuff with all these sun, god, moon, and Lunarians. Dragon and Vegapunk is really surprising. Maybe Dragon is really Celestial Dragon, or he was a Marine like Garb. So those are two theories also that have been around for a while. Dragon being a Celestial Dragon is, if that is going to be revealed, I would love for that to be revealed soon, because that is going to add so much weight to what Dragon is actually doing here. It would be like the opposite of Dofi, or it kind of like opposite those, where we would have, if Dragon really is a Celestial Dragon, we would be able to look at Doflamingo and see those, like how they conduct themselves, right? And it would also be interesting if alongside Doflamingo and alongside Enel, though Enel's not a Celestial Dragon, but if alongside those two characters and Instant Messenger Summon, which, you know, the things that connects those is like the 16 bullets that are raining down from above. If Dragon were to have an attack that like shoots from below or above, we know, we all believe that he has some sort of weather ability, right? So it would be interesting if one of his attacks is similar to what we saw with Instant Messenger Sama and with Doflamingo. They just solidifying that connection with the Celestial Dragons. It would be interesting. And it would showcase that Doflamingo is not the, I mean, we know he's not the only Celestial Dragon. We see that Nilsgard now is also quote-unquote rebelling against what he was brought up to believe. But in Dragon's case, it is a clear-cut rebellion if he really is a Celestial Dragon. So I think that'd be a super, super interesting way to go about it. But of course, we'll have to wait and see But being a marine like Garp, that is a theory that's been around for so long, and if that is the case, that would add a lot more weight to the conversation with Smoker back in Logtown, and also maybe why Akainu just hates the man so much. You know what I mean? And so, if we find out that was actually the case, inject it. Either of these two, it's going to be shocking. We learn so much about Dragon. But Dragon being a pirate when he was a kid or in his prime is going to be surprising. That's all I have for this week's chapter. Because who would have guessed? Seriously, bro, who would have guessed we were going to see Law versus Blackbeard, DJ? Like, Law versus Blackbeard starting in 1063. I was like, no, this is insane. But to me, what might have been even more insane is the fact that we continue directly from that in the next chapter. I was like, we didn't switch to anything else? And of course, Black Vortex leading us to believe that something very bad was about to happen there. But I'll take that any day of the week. We got so much out of the Law versus Blackbeard fight that I'll take it. You know what I mean? What am I, amnesia, not knowing the word off screen? But facts. He's like, we're not off screen. None. Wait, One Piece is crazy this week. Final Saga Oda's built different. He wasn't high. Seriously, bro. DJ, Final Saga Oda's built different. He is built different, man. But I appreciate you for the comment. And you're absolutely right, about the Dragon Celestial Dragon thing. And it's something that hopefully in the future Trails from Zero stream we'll be able to get more in depth in, because that there's a lot of different possibilities for Dragon. So many different things, but properly exploring some of those avenues of what he could actually be, because like I said, I believe that once we find out the significance behind that tattoo, we're going to it's gonna hit just how much this means to Dragon. And so yeah, man, more origins for the Revolutionary Army stuff, please. But thank you for that, brother. I appreciate you. And next one comes in from Omar. Shout out to Omar. It says, I think Kuma is from the Sky Folk, possibly a Birkin. Big Mom said only 3 races she doesn't have: Giants, Lunarians, and an unknown one, which I think are the Sky people, since they're the only ones left to think about. And I'm 100% with you on that line of thought, that it's going to end up being the 3rd race. Now, if they are actually a group of Sky Folk, and like you said, possibly a Birkin, that is fascinating. Which would lead Kuma to, going potentially back home, quote unquote, or back to where his ancestors once resided, in where the research laboratory actually is right now. Maybe that is where they originally resided, and why Vegapunk's lab is up there. Who knows? Also, I think Kuma, Dragon, and Vegapunk were in agreement over Kuma becoming a cyborg, hence why Bonnie never made a move in the past. 100 million %, Omar. 100 million %. Until during/post time skip. Basically, modified wasn't the problem. Agreed. As for Vegapunk, he mentioned that it's hard to get resources 500 years ahead of the world, but we know that there's an advanced civilization in space which meets what Vegapunk wants. So I think that's how he escapes WG, by going to space. If Vegapunk, with his limited life, states, I want to go up to space, then if that were to happen, because it's One Piece, I would like for us to go there too. I really do, man. I want us to go up there, see NL again if he's still up there. And we just see it. And of course, we already started on the cover pages, so takes away from it a little bit, which is why it's possibly why we won't go there. But I want to go up there, man. I want to see the Straw Hats go into space. If we went into the deepest depths of the ocean, I've always wanted us to go up into space. And that's been a common theory for what Laugh-Tale is. But if Vegapunk's dream, or his aspirations now that he has limited life left, and to, like you said, get the resources that he requires, is up there on the moon, which is an advanced civilization, let's go there too. Let's go there too, man. I'll take it. So, great comment, Omar. I appreciate you. 100%, man. And like I said, if that actually ends up being the case, and Vegapunk doesn't want to go up to space, either we follow him up there, or when Vegapunk goes, space shuttle, whatever it is, Vegapunk going up. What if we get a clue? Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, if Laugh-Tale is in space, wouldn't that be our biggest clue here? If Vegapunk were to follow us, because that's a possibility too. That Vegapunk follows us to the very end, right, of this journey. Because either Vegapunk dies here at the end of Egghead, or Vegapunk becomes an ally, or whatever it is. But there's also a possibility that Vegapunk comes with us, kind of. Or Vegapunk says, I'll meet you at Lodestar, whatever it is. And Vegapunk follows us to Laugh-Tale. And if Laugh-Tale is in space, and Vegapunk were to go there, oh, that would be goated. But like I said, we don't know. There's a possibility that Laugh-Tale's in space. There's a possibility that Laugh-Tale is within Reverse Mountain and the X and all that stuff, right? But regardless, if Vegapunk does go to the moon, I want us to go there too. That's my main thing there. So I appreciate you, yo. Let's go ahead and go to the next one here. Let's see. Okay, so here we have Supra Alatreon 1. And yo, shout out to you, dog, for going back to the old reactions. I've seen your comments. I truly appreciate you for going all the way back to the old Whole Cake Island reactions. I was like, yo, my dog is going to the good old Whole Cake Island greatness. So I appreciate you for that. I really, really do. So Super comes in and says, I also really want to know the deal with Connie, with Bonnie, aka Bogey. Because no, I want to know the deal with Connie, the older version, specifically because Bonnie said that Kuma was her only family. If Connie was the queen but is no longer alive, then why did the soldier manager recognize her immediately, not think twice? That's true. That is true. So Connie could very well be Bonnie's mother that maybe she no longer wanted to have, because maybe she died, right? But being able to take that appearance. She was able to take the appearance of this Connie, who potentially was her mother, but maybe something happened between her and her mother that made her say, like, that is the only family I have. Or her specifically stating that's the only family I have to Kuma is because Connie's already dead. So it's like, Connie's dead, of course, the only family I have left is Kuma, because my mother died. You know, so that is most certainly a possibility. And if the Manijoa recognized her and didn't think twice, then perhaps that was because it was never reported that she died, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe she is still alive. Who knows? Who knows? You would think the death of that nation's queen would be big news. Exactly, right? Like, that's what's making me stop from saying specifically that the character is dead. Unless the WG are covering up the current stats of that kingdom. Yeah, that's also true, because if the Sorbet Kingdom... I'm not going to say it got Leloucia, though that's most certainly possible. If the Sorbet Kingdom got Leloucia, then the status really is unconfirmed. Yeah, yo. Actually, if the Sorbet Kingdom got Leloucia, then that would that would that would mean that no one would know. Maybe it did. Maybe it did. But if it never existed, then Jinbei wouldn't have brought up. Then again, Jinbei has knows quite a few things. Jinbei found out about the Nika stuff with who's who. So it's like, maybe, right? Maybe. Jinbei has a way of finding out information, right? But still, it is interesting. You're absolutely right. Like, there's a missing piece of that with the Connie thing that's going to be integral in that Dragon, Vegapunk, and Kuma flashback and Bonnie as well. So no, you're right. I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind. Super. That's rocking the brain up here. I appreciate you, yo. I appreciate you. Absolutely, Ellie. Like, now that you say that, that would have been big news all over the place. Morgan's would have been going crazy. So I'm gonna read two more here, and then we'll wrap it up. I think we've been going for an hour. So the chapter was too good, yo. The chapter was too good. So let's see what we have here. Right here we have Raffi with the awesome profile picture with Luffy's dream back in chapter 1060. Do you think Kuzan will join the battle and freeze Law's submarine underwater? If so, what happens to Law? So in regards to Kuzan joining the battle, I don't think he has to, but if he does, that would be a great way of showcasing his current quote-unquote allegiance. Now, here's the thing. Kuma freezing the water could potentially be what saves Law, right? Like, let's not get it twisted. Regardless of whether Law's a member of SWORD or not, Aokiji saving Law is the possibility. Aokiji goes in there, freezes the ocean, makes sure everybody there it cannot move, states, I got this, Kurohige. And Blackbeard's like, do what you want as long as we get the poneglyph rubbings. To get the poneglyph rubbings, Aokiji is the one that allows Law to escape, and or because he's the one that froze everyone, they stay right there. Because we saw what happened with Robin, right? They stay, no one thaws them out, no one does anything. And Aokiji undoes it after a little while. Whatever ends up happening there, I do believe that if Aokiji were to intervene, it would be to save Law, 100%. 100% to ensure that he does not die at the hands of Blackbeard. They just get the poneglyph rubbings, and it's all good to go after that. That would be a really cool way to have that fight end and have Law, quote-unquote, escape and survive. And or be captured. You know, we have no idea. Now, in regards to if so what happens to Law, like I said, there's multiple different things that happen to Law here, even outside of the Kuzan joining the battle. If Kuzan joins the battle, that to me would imply that Law most certainly escapes with his life and his fruit. If Kuzan does not intervene, there is a possibility that Law dies, that Law loses fruit, that Law gets captured, or that he escapes. Or he's a member of Sword and he wants to get captured. So there's a couple different possibilities there. But I think the most likely one, if Kuzan intervenes, then it would be the Law escapes or purposefully gets captured because he's a member of Sword. One of the two. One of the two. But I appreciate you, Rafi. Most of that would be so cool. I'm just imagining that double spread, like ice time goes in, a whole water gets frozen, a polar tank. Oh, that'd be so cool. I would love that. I would really love that. All right, and then we got my boy Xanarkand. Xanarkand comes in. So some points. Has Vegapunk something to do with Luffy's birth? 100% Xanarkand. 1,000,000%. It always seemed odd to me that Luffy didn't know about Dragon. Funny enough, Dragon and Vegapunk actually know each other. Big Mom mentioned in WCI she's in 3 races in her book. We now know Lunarians, Giants, and one that is still unknown. It's got to be the one. It's got to be the one. Why did Kuma agree to be the world government's lab rat? My guess is that they were originally interested in Bonnie, but Kuma offered himself to save his own daughter. That is something that would be that would showcase Kuma as a parent, willing to do something in order to ensure that Bonnie's safe, that Bonnie's good to go. Which you're right. If Bonnie is the special one here, and Kuma did all of this in order to protect her daughter, to save her daughter, I could see that. I could save his daughter. I could see that being the case, considering how, they treated Bonnie back in chapter 595, whenever Blackbeard tried to capture Akainu pulled up and was like, no, like, we got to put a stop to this. You know what I mean? So, if Bonnie is the real special one here, even though Kuma's a member of the special races, but technically Bonnie is too. If Kuma's a member of the special race, and so is Bonnie. So, if that is the case, then I could see something like that happening. But I do believe the reason why Kuma agreed to be the WG's lab rat is mainly to do with attempting to atone for everything he did. I see Kuma as being the type of person where he went through all of that just attempting to atone for all of the bad things he did. Because like I said, I do believe it's going to land somewhere in the middle. I do believe Kuma did do a lot of things as a tyrant. I do. And I think that'd be a really cool story to explore. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But I appreciate you, Joe. But I'm in agreement with you in regards to the third race being the one that potentially Kuma is, because it just makes too much sense. It just makes too much sense, and we'd finally be able to find out what it is. And it's already Final Saga time. It's better time than ever, right? So then we have let's read one more. Let's go down. Oh, yeah, we have M-Sphere right here. M-Sphere comes in and says, okay, so first, how are you, fam? Yo, doing great. Doing great. Talking about the GOAT. I'm all right now to the craziness. I'm glad to know you're doing good, yo. I'm glad to know you're doing good. So given the fact that Oda has revealed more about the Blackbeard Pirates than we heard pirates in the manga, tells me the next major boss is Blackbeard. And the setup with Kobe putting in Law to be rescued is already present there. That's most certainly what looks to be the likely scenario, right? Where all 3 are captured. Which, that's an Impel Down squad and a half, if you think about it. Well, my peg leg is going crazy. Ugh. Now I believe chapter 1064, Dragon will finally move, because he cannot let Vega die. He just lost his right hand. Kuma's as good as dead. This time he needs to move. Maybe we finally get the meeting of father and son. So, this entire discussion, I've been talking about everything of Dragon, flashbacks, all that stuff, but Dragon himself not being here. Excuse me. However, you saying this right here, if this is the arc where Dragon makes his move and comes here himself, and we get the meeting finally between Dragon and Luffy, Egghead Island, go, peek, you know what I mean? Like, I'd be down for that. I would be down for that for Dragon. Coming off of losing Sabo, goes here to ensure, like, yo, Vegapunk, I got you. I'm gonna be there for you. Oh, and we get the meeting between Dragon and Sabo. I'm down. I'm down for that possibility as well. The full lead island raid. Now, I'm a sucker for Straw Hat action. You already know my matchup, so other folks being involved to me is bad. Are we given the sheer number of folks on full lead island as Blackbeard pirates? We might just need help in numbers, and here comes the theory. Aside from the baby pirates and Straw Hats, we need someone to deal with Aokiji, however not in a fight. So I will say it'll be Kobe and Smoker. Smoker currently is not Sword. This fight could lead into Aokiji revealing his undercover and asking Smoker to join up too. That is interesting. That I've always been of the belief that Smoker is a part of Sword. And so is Kobe. Well, obviously Kobe is, but that Smoker is a part of it as well. And so Smoker and Kobe would be in that direct competition against Aokiji. I don't know if Aokiji, like I said, we don't know if he's going to be a member of Sword or not. or if he already is one, or if he's going to be converted into one. Regardless, that matchup to me fascinates me. In the same way that the Smoker versus Rob Bellucci possibility also fascinates me. So I like that. For numbers, and we cool for the Grand Fleet now. And I don't think the Grand Fleet will come in yet. Maybe. I was gonna say no, because I feel like that's being saved for the major incident. But this is a major incident. This is a major incident. So it would be cool to bring the Grand Fleet in now, because of course they'll be there in the final war. Why not showcase them now on a smaller playing field? The Big Mom Pirates will be a part of it too. The Big Mom Pirates, I think, will be a part of it actually. Not to see that, because Kata Curry, they're gonna be coming for pudding. So, oh, Kata Curry. Dude, oh man, I'm about to be like Hank from King of the Hill, dude. That'll be big, son. That'll be big. Yo. But I think only 2 or 3 members care for their family. And like one, of course, Kata Curry. Even if just Kata Curry pulls up by himself, I'm there. I'm there. But it would be really cool if Big Mom herself pulls up, like, yo, I'm coming here to get pudding. Oh, I'd be joking. You could be a part of this raid too. I don't know where or how he fits, but his character screams, "I will rescue my little sis." I would love that, M-Sphere. I would love that. It's all in the future for more current stuff. Zoro and Brooke should duo the whole CP0 squad. That would be interesting. I'm going to go back to what we were talking about earlier. I would love that. I know Lucci's strong, but this is the right hand of the Pirate King, and the Pirate King's musician. I think Zoro could 1v1 Lucci, no problem. It's Brooke taking care of Stincy and Kaku. That would be hype. Aside from that, Dragon will rescue /save Vega because he should, and this all leads into Bonnie and Vegapunk going to Dragon. Revolutionaries will Luffy and Co. learn of law, Pudding and Kobe leading to the raid of Island Full Lead. Thank you for your time. Apologies for the long message. No, this was a great message, M-Sphere. Great message. Holy flag, Nards, yo. See, I'm so happy that all of you and your brilliant minds continue to comment stuff like this. There's just so many amazing and insane possibilities that could happen here in this arc, transitioning to the next arc, and it's like, yo, Oda's cooking, man. Final Saga, Oda's will be different. I appreciate everybody for the comments. I wanted to get to some more. My throat's already running dry. We've been here for an hour, and this chapter was just so good. I could be here all day, but I do have to get going. So I will see y'all next time. This video will probably be out hopefully by tonight. I'm going to try to get it out as soon as possible. I wanted to wait for the Viz translation, so to see certain things in the confirmation because there was a lot of information in this chapter, and I just want to make sure to have the proper comparisons between TCB and Viz for a chapter like this. And so the Afterthoughts will be out later than usual, but this was a fun one. I will see y'all next time. Goat Peace is firing in all cylinders. Let's go, man. Peak, goat, ladies and gentlemen.